Welcome back to the Weebs Closet, guys, and welcome to something that I have been wanting to do for a couple years now. I haven't gotten around to it because the last few years, 2020, 2021, I haven't really been to the theater very much. 2021, sorta. I feel like I just didn't see a lot of good movies that year, and a lot went to streaming. But the best of the year list is something I've wanted to do since I started YouTube, and I just haven't because I started my YouTube channel in 2020. I feel like everything that was supposed to come out that year got pushed back to either 2021 or 2022. So I think this year is the first year where we haven't been feeling the effects of the pandemic as much. So there were a lot of good movies that came out this year. I wanted to shoot off my top 10. Top 10 is kind of it's an understatement because I actually have 30 movies. So top 10, 20 honorable mentions. There were a lot of good movies this year. This was definitely the best year for film since 2019. But I'm going to be honest. This year was dominated by horror movies, for one. There are like 10 horror movies at least on this list. And also anime. There was a lot of good anime movies this year. A lot of like franchise anime movies that I'm going to talk about. Not so much original, but there is one original anime that I wanted to talk about, and it's my favorite movie that I have seen this year. And the reason I am talking about my number one right now is because technically it didn't actually come out this year. It came out like at the very tail end in just a few theaters in 2021, but its worldwide release was this year. So I wanted to count it, but it doesn't really count. The movie I'm talking about is Mamoru Hosoda's Belle, that came out earlier this year, and it was, I don't know, it had some of the best original songs and music I've ever heard in a movie. We actually, Neko and I recorded our reaction to it. It's not up on the channel yet. I promise we're going to get that out very soon, but we were both a mess during the movie. I just want to say it's one of the most emotional movies, one of the most uplifting movies. I love the 2D and 3D animation. I'm not really a 3D guy when it comes to anime. Funny because there's actually another movie we're going to talk about that's 3D anime. But anyway, I genuinely think it is the only movie this year that either came close to, or I would just straight up say is a 10 out of 10. It is in a way a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, but it's so different from the original that if you only know about Beauty and the Beast, you're not going to get the connection at all. If you've seen Beauty and the Beast, you're definitely going to get what they're going for. But it was different enough to feel like its own complete movie. I don't feel like it was riding on the fact that it was a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. It felt like its own thing. Love the movie. Amazing animation, amazing music. I'm going to be honest, if a movie has good music, it's going to be high up on my list, even if it's not the best movie. But I love the protagonist. Something about Mamoru Hosoda. He has just the best protagonist. You look at Wolf Children, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, Summer Wars, Mirai. I love Mirai. I know a lot of people don't love it, but because the main protagonist is a kid. But I absolutely love that movie. I love all of his movies, and he is quickly becoming probably one of my top 5 directors. I got to be honest.
Sing.
But moving on to the honorable mentions for movies that actually came out this year, I'm going to start with One Piece Film Red, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, Matilda the Musical, which is something I didn't really care to watch because I didn't think it could surpass the original, and not that it did surpass the original, but like Belle, it was different enough to justify its existence. And I also think this is a great opportunity for Netflix to take advantage of the situation and please adapt a Big Fish musical. I know a lot of you have seen Tim Burton's Big Fish. There's a much better version called Big Fish the Musical on Broadway, and if they made it into like the same, it feels very similar to how Matilda the Musical felt. The choreography in Matilda the Musical is fucking amazing. Like, goddamn. I'm just going to play a little bit of the clip right here while I'm talking. Holy shit. Whoever did the choreography for that, like, fucking good job. I also wanted to state that these honorable mentions are in no particular order, so take that however you will. Tar, starring Cate Blanchett. This is one that I wanted to love, but I hate to say it like this because it's a movie about a composer, but it wasn't quite my tempo. It's definitely a character study through and through, and I appreciate it, but I didn't exactly love watching it. Cate Blanchett, though, will probably win the Oscar, although I am rooting for somebody else. I'll get to that later. Next up, the quintessential quintuplets movie. Wasn't a great movie. I'm just putting it on here as a congratulations for the entire series. The TV show was great, or the anime was great. The movie was okay. It finished. It's great. We love it. Next up, Mad God. Weird, the Al Yankovic story. Love that one. Jujutsu Kaisen 0. Orphan First Kill. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Hellraiser. I was really excited for this, but I was also like skeptical. There's like 18 fucking Hellraiser movies or something like that, and only like one of them is good. I really love the original. I was not expecting this to be as good as it was, but it was much better than I thought it would be. Jordan Peele's Nope. Mobile Suit Gundam. Done's Island. The Barbarian. Brendan Fraser's big comeback with The Whale. Absolutely fantastic performance. I fucking hope to God he wins an Oscar. The Banshees of Inisherin, or Ed Sheeran. Scream 5, or Scream, starring Jenna Ortega, who I discovered way before y'all when she was in The Babysitter, First Kill, or Second Kill, or whatever it was called. I know somebody in the comments is going to say that they didn't discover her watching Wednesday and they discovered her on Disney Channel. I stopped watching Disney Channel when I was like 8, which was like almost 2 decades ago. So she's the new hot thing. I think she's great. We all think she's great, Okay. Next up, I wanted to shout out The Fallout as well, which she also starred in. This was a really interesting character drama as well, or character study, I guess you could say. Sort of, not like Tar in any kind of way, but we're just kind of following a character that experienced something very traumatic in the first few minutes of this movie, and she's kind of figuring out who she is, what she likes, anxieties, depressions, friendships, relationships. It's really interesting because the psychology behind what's happening to this character throughout the movie it's always interesting. It's always changing. Nothing felt just out of the blue, even though everything kind of feels out of the blue. She does a lot of spontaneous things, very impulsive things, but that's because she's trying to come to terms with something tragic that has happened in her life, and the ending of this fucking movie will blow you away. I'm sorry for putting so many Jenna Ortega movies on this list. I promise it'll be the last. Next up, X, starring Mia Goth, and I also wanted to throw in Pearl in the spot as well. I did prefer Pearl a little bit more, but I love that both movies that both came out this year, like 6 months apart, felt completely different from each other, even though they're connected. Yet X, which was like very inspired by the 70s Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it just was the film grain. Was it in 4:3 aspect ratio? It should have been if it wasn't, I'm just saying. And then you had Pearl, which was this widescreen, colorful Technicolor, kind of like an Oklahoma musical style type of movie. Like I said, I preferred Pearl just a little bit more. I thought Mia Goth, who did star in both, I thought she carried Pearl just a little bit more. X is kind of more like a little bit more of an ensemble. Jenna Ortega is great. All the characters are really great in that. But damn, the switch up in Pearl was insane. Also, the credit sequence is fucking the best. Like, please watch Pearl just for the credits. It's amazing. And my last honorable mention is The Fabelmans, directed by Steven Spielberg. This is sort of the story about his life. I thought it was really good. The emotional moments didn't impact me like I thought they would. I kind of love being I guess you could say, fly on the wall, or Jake in the theater seat, watching how a filmmaker became a filmmaker in the 50s, and I'm going to be honest, how much easier it probably was, because nobody really, that wasn't like a big thing. Like, I have a film degree. I'm talking about movies. This is what I'm doing with my film degree right now. I'm talking about movies on YouTube. The film industry is much harder to get in. I felt like if you were interested in movies in the 50s and you were talented, moderately talented, it was much easier for you to get into the film industry, because that wasn't, everybody wanted to be, an engineer or a football player or fucking singer or whatever. And that now I feel like everybody I know either loves movies or wants to get into movies. And with the industry, with the independent part of the industry just booming, it is easier, I feel like, to make a movie, but it is much harder to get into the film industry, if you get what I mean. But I really like the movie. Almost, I think this one was the closest to making it on my list just because of how much I connected with it. But let's get into the top 10. Glass Onion, written and directed by Rian Johnson, is the follow-up to Knives Out, a movie I kind of liked. I wasn't crazy about. It came out, what, 2019? Got a lot of Oscar attention. I thought the performance was really, really good. Like, the ensemble was insane. And the ensemble is just as insane here with Ed Norton, Dave Bautista, so many others. Fucking Janelle Monáe killed it in this movie. She's kind of like the Ana de Armas character. But there's so many twists. I'm going to be honest. I'm kind of tired of murder mysteries or the whodunit. This is kind of like the whodunit genre. What I don't like is we're so familiar with the formula, even when there's twists. But Glass Onion has, and you kind of know what the formula is. There's going to be a lot of people. Everyone has a motivation for the killing that happens. The killing is going to happen at some point. What's interesting about Glass Onion is that the kill doesn't actually happen until over an hour into this 2.5 hour movie, which really blew my mind. There's so many twists. Every 30 minutes, Ryan Johnson threw a monkey wrench into the story. And it was just always entertaining throughout. I did think it was superior to Knives Out. The Menu is my number 9 spot, and I thought this was another one that was damn near perfect. I walked out having very few nitpicks. I didn't even have anything to complain about. I was just nitpicking here and there about things that they could have fixed a little bit. I love when we're talking about messages in a movie. This one just fucking struck a chord. You're going to see the rest of the movies on this list, and you're going to disagree with them so hard. I swear to God, I'm looking at my number 7 right now, and you're going to be like, Jake, what the fuck? Why is that on this list? But it's there because I enjoy that type of movie, and I'm not here to give all the art house films number 1. And I love that the menu kind of talks about elitism and the pretentiousness that any kind of group can grow over the course of a certain amount of years. I used to have this friend, and I'm not going to say who it is, but every time he would watch an indie movie, he would text me that it's one of the best films he's ever seen. And whenever I really liked a comic book movie, he would always make fun of me for it. Like, oh, Jake, your favorite movie of the year, Captain America Civil War. Well, I just watched Amadeus, the best picture winner of whatever year it came out in, and it was one of the top 5 best movies I've ever seen. It's just like, bro. Goddamn. And I feel like this movie is kind of commenting not just on elitism, but people like that. People who are posers. People who don't actually like movies like Tar. The character studies. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. Tar's not my favorite movie this year. It just didn't work for me. I'm not going to lie to you. But The Menu absolutely did. I love the twists of the movie. I love how Anya Taylor-Joy kind of got out of the situation she was in by just being someone that actually matters in society. The person that works at McDonald's, they fucking matter. You know why? Because when you're fucking starving and you want a burger and you don't want to spend $30 on something super expensive, you just go to McDonald's, you pay $3, you get 3 cheeseburgers. And this is not an ad for McDonald's, by the way. Even the smallest people in life can give you satisfaction, and that's what this movie is about. This movie is about the people that absolutely drain and drown every fucking drip out of fun out of movies and food and music. I'm talking to you, Anthony Fantano. I love that. I love the self-awareness of the movie. I'm talking about this one a lot because I connected with it a lot. Fucking amazing movie. Number 8. The best character study of all time. Dragon Ball Super. Superhero. Here's a movie, another 3D anime that I was a little bit skeptical about, but I was way more excited for this one than anyone else because Gohan is back, and Gohan is my favorite character in Dragon Ball, or he was until Akira Toriyama decided that he's boring and doesn't need to be in the story anymore for whatever reason. I love Gohan, I love Piccolo, I love their dynamic. We get that at the forefront of this movie. I feel like Dragon Ball Superhero, dumb title by the way, I'm just going to call it Superhero, is just as much Dragon Ball as Broly. So we have these 2 movies now. I feel like if you want to show somebody Dragon Ball, you want to introduce them to the universe, you show them Broly, and then you show them Superhero. Because Broly is that action. It's the power-ups. It's the screaming and yelling. It's the fights. It's the 2D animation. Superhero is the Dragon Ball. And I'm talking like Dragon Ball way back in the day with Goku as a little kid. It's the comedy. It's the family aspect. It's the adventure. And I feel like these 2 movies are everything that Dragon Ball is, completely balanced. They're the 2 best Dragon Ball movies. I can't decide what I like more, but if I had a gun to my head, I might lean a little bit towards Superhero. It made me a little bit more emotional. I really like the 3D. I don't want them to stick with the 3D, but I really liked it. I just fucking love Gohan, and they develop him so well. Fucking Piccolo Yellow or whatever it was called, Orange Piccolo, loved it. Next up. Okay, so Terrifier 2. I can explain. This movie is reviewed quite well, but I don't think anyone particularly loves it because it is a slasher that is almost 2 hours and 20 minutes long, which I think makes it the longest slasher that we have seen. And you can definitely feel the length. But what I love so much about Terrifier 2 is that it's unapologetically what it is. I think the most impressive thing is that it was made for $250,000, and it was way better than any other slasher this year. It was way better than Halloween Ends for sure. I even liked it better than X. I also love that this is a series. A big complaint about Terrifier 2 is that it didn't really explain its mythology as good as it could have, and I think that's because that Terrifier is still a series that's trying to figure itself out. It's still really young. It's not Halloween that's made fucking 13 movies or Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street. It's so indie. And here we go. Here's to the friend that thinks that all indie movies are great. It's an indie series that's still trying to figure itself out. It was made for $250,000. It's better than any slasher that came out this year. And it finally did the thing that I've been asking movies to do since the beginning of movies. And I cannot believe I finally get to say this. I hate. I think it's my number one pet peeve in movies is when there's a female protagonist. That's it. No, is when there's a female protagonist and she gets into a bunch of scuffles and fights and she just comes out unscathed, makeup perfect, awesome. There are a lot of great female heroes that I love. Sarah Connor, Ellen Ripley, fucking Wonder Woman is great as well. Show me one screenshot of them just ripped to shreds. Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man, fighting the Green Goblin, just eyeballs gouging out. And finally, in Terrifier 2, Lauren Rivera, who has passed up, I'm going to call it now, has passed up Jenna Ortega for Best Final Girl this year. Although I don't think Jenna Ortega was technically a final girl in any of the movies she starred in. Her and Art the Clown go at it in this movie. They absolutely beat the shit out of each other to the point where Lauren Rivera doesn't look like the same character that she did at the beginning of the movie. They are absolutely ripping each other to shreds with chains, knives, fucking rebar, saws, swords. It is a really intense movie that I fucking loved the whole thing. I wasn't bored at all through any of it. I love the mythology. Lauren Rivera is going to be a huge star. I'm calling it now. She's going to be in all the new horror movies. This movie was awesome. It gave me everything I wanted out of a slasher. One of the best slashers I've ever seen. And I'm not sorry about this. Avatar, The Way of Water. Finally, 13 years in the making. Was it good? It was good. Was it amazing? I don't know. I don't know if I can say it's amazing. What's amazing about it is obviously the world, the effects. For those that don't know, Avatar is the movie. That is probably why I'm here. It was definitely the most influential movie I had seen. I think that's because it was the first movie I saw without my parents. I willingly went to the theater. I wanted to see this with my friends, and I just got to sit down in this world for 2 hours and 45 minutes and just soak in the world, the characters. I hadn't really seen The Mission or Ferngully or I'd seen Pocahontas, but like a long time ago. I hadn't seen The Last Samurai at the time or Dances with Wolves. So this story of like the main protagonist switching sides and fighting with the oppressed society was kind of like a really original story to me when I had seen the first Avatar, and it was so compelling to me. And I really like Sam Worthington in this movie. Of course, Zoe Saldana was the heart of the movie. But Avatar: The Way of Water it had some really amazing things that did surpass the original, in my opinion. I think I still like the original a little bit more. But Kiri, to me, is going to be what I watch the next one for. And Sigourney Weaver, absolutely. I can't believe that was her as playing a kid. That was awesome. I don't want to spoil The Way of Water. So if you haven't seen it, maybe skip ahead like 30 seconds. But I thought that the storyline with her frontal lobe epilepsy, I was like, what the fuck? That's crazy. How did she develop that? And she was like a fatherless child, kind of like Anakin or Jesus. Then you find out she really is connected to this world. She's not crazy. She's not seeing things. And I really want to see where she goes. She was definitely the most compelling character to me. I also really enjoyed the younger son, not the oldest son, the younger son, kind of the middle child of the family. And Jake Sully and Natiri were awesome. I love the water people. Goddamn, I don't even like the story that much. I was just so impressed by everything besides the story, the music, the characters, the visuals, just the world building overall. I could see somebody really not digging this movie because it is 3 hours and 15 minutes, and I did not have a good experience watching this. I saw this at AMC. AMC, I'm calling you out. This is why I go to Cinemark, because your theaters are too cold, your concessions are too expensive, your popcorn isn't even as good as Cinemark. You don't even put as much popcorn in your large popcorn as Cinemark. I've done the experiment. I know how much the Cinemark popcorn holds. Done with AMC. I don't care that you have IMAX. I don't care that you have Dolby Atmos. I'm sticking with Cinemark. And thank you, Avatar: Way of Water, for opening my eyes. All right, top five. This is what it's all about. These are the best movies of the year. These are the movies that I would want to see nominated for Best Picture. When I walked out of the Batman, I think I compared it way too much to the Nolan movies, to where I feel like I couldn't even enjoy what was happening. And that was totally on me. The second time I watched this movie, I just put everything to the side. I judged it on its own merits, and I absolutely loved it. I don't know if I've stated this, and I'm kind of looking at the rest of the movies that I have, and the movies that I have on this list. I really love long movies. And the reason for that is because if your movie's good, I get to be invested in your world for way more than an hour and a half or 2 hours. And The Batman was exactly what I wanted. Just sitting down in the most realized version of Gotham we have seen yet for damn near 3 hours. I think the movie actually was 3 hours. Paul Dano, his performance was great as Riddler. I still have a problem with kind of the puzzle aspect behind his plan. I felt like his riddles and his puzzles were great throughout the movie, and then he was just like, also, I'm gonna blow up the city. And I wish there was a bigger interconnected puzzle that Batman had to solve, but I still loved his performance. I'm really excited to see what happens next. Robert Pattinson fucking killed it. His iteration of Batman is goddamn amazing. I don't know. What is to say about this movie that hasn't been said already? I really loved it. And next up. Okay, so here's a movie that gave me an existential crisis. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. I'm completely prone to existentialism and existential dread and fucking dying and death and despair and how are we even here and bagels, and this movie really scared the shit out of me, and my girlfriend can back me up on that. But it made me a wreck, an emotional wreck. I think this is. If somebody told me this is the best movie ever made, I wouldn't even bat an eye. I'd be like, you're absolutely right. And you can go to my main channel, Liquid Jake, which I promise I'll upload to again. I have a video titled Movies to Watch After Getting Your Heart Broken, Part 2, specifically, where I talk about Swiss Army Man, which is, I believe, the first movie that the Daniels made. Those are the directors behind this movie. And they are so inventive, not just with their visuals, but also with their stories. The way that they develop their characters is truly unlike, really, nobody's done it. Like, nobody can take the weird shit that they put in their movies and actually make you care about it. The fact that you care about two rocks in this movie, the fact that in Swiss Army Man you care about a corpse that's farting across the ocean. I don't know how they do it, and I don't know why I get it, and I don't know why I love it so much, but I'm going to watch every goddamn movie that they make because they are awesome. And I hope Short Round, I can't remember his name. I need to look it up. I hope he wins the Oscar so bad for Best Supporting Actor. Just thinking about him now gives me chills, makes me tear up. If Brendan Fraser isn't my favorite performance this year, it's that. Like, he had a scene that just absolutely, I'm trying not to cry, bro. I need to watch this movie again. I only saw it once, but it stuck with me so much. And I have friends that just absolutely went crazy about this movie. Richie, if you're watching, talking about this movie with you was a lot of fun. I think I'm going to show Neko this movie. He really needs to see this. So that'll be on the next Uncut. Top three, all three of these movies were my number one at some point. I switched them around, I changed them, and I still don't feel super confident about it. So just when I say all three of them are my number one. They're just in an order that I chose them to be in. RRR is fucking what it is. It is crazy. It is heartfelt. It is funny. It has the best dance number I might have ever seen in my entire life. About an hour into the movie, I've tried to get Neko to watch this movie like for 4 months or something like that. I watched this movie 3 times in a week because it was that entertaining. It's over 3 hours long and it feels like it's 2. The bromance in this movie, I'm thinking it's the best I've ever seen. Like, just straight up. I have not wanted a friendship like this as bad as I have wanted. I think they had the best relationship. It's something that I cherished watching and I just want so bad. Beam, and I think it was Ram was the kind of British officer. Amazing story. I was invested throughout the entire thing. I just put it on because like I'd seen that people were liking it. It was on Netflix. I checked it out. I was going to watch like 15 minutes. Ended up watching the whole movie. Watched it the next day. Showed it to Lee. I really admire how India does their movies. I don't think it's weird. I don't think it's just how they do it. It's how like Japan does anime in their own way. Mexico does, soap operas in their own way. And India does movies in their own way. And I think they're just as valid, just as entertaining. Hell, fucking more entertaining than Hollywood for... it's my number 3 this year. I saw the Oscar shortlist and it wasn't nominated for foreign picture. So if it doesn't get Best Picture, I don't even think I'm going to watch the Oscars, honestly. I'm just going to look up what happened after. Because at that point, they're not even paying attention. And it could be just because this is so much better than most of the Hollywood movies this year. And maybe they're embarrassed by it, that a movie from India is more entertaining, more well-written than 99% of the stuff they put out this year, but we'll see. I really hope that it gets nominated Best Picture because it deserves it. I would like to see some acting nominations. Probably not going to happen. Best Director absolutely has to happen. Maybe Best Adapted Screenplay. Who knows? Top Gun Maverick. I wasn't really excited to watch this. I don't really love the original, but this movie is... aside from the romance with Jennifer Connelly, I was just like, that was perfect. Like the action sequences, Tom Cruise is the movie star. He is number one. Like he solidified himself. He doesn't even do any running in this movie. He's known for running. It's just the practicality of it all. You really just have to watch it. Even if you don't think you're going to like it, I highly recommend Top Gun. It's so good that this is kind of one of the front runners at the Oscars. It's going to get Best Actor with Tom Cruise probably. It's going to get Best Picture. You could see Best Director. It's going to get Best Song. There's some pretty good music in there as well. Overall, I think it's the most solid movie to come out this year. Just like fundamental filmmaking. Did we hit all the notes? Super entertaining, super heartfelt. Miles Teller absolutely kills it. I want to see him more. He hasn't really been in anything lately. And yeah, loved it. The Northman, directed by Robert Edgers, is without a doubt, I say without a doubt, even though I said they're all tied, but it low-key was what I compared every movie to throughout the entire year, and nothing really passed it up. Like RRR, Top Gun Maverick, they got close, but when I saw The Northman, it just blew me away in every single way. And it might be biased because I'm really into Norse mythology. We just got done watching Vinland Saga a few months ago. It's about to come back. God of War Ragnarok was amazing. I've really been consuming a lot of that lore and mythology. And The Northman felt so much like Vinland Saga coming to life. Like Thorfinn's character felt very similar to Amlet. Everything, just the practicality, just like Top Gun Maverick. The practicality, the fights in this movie. It's not a ton of action, but the fights felt so much like Dark Souls live action. The performances, Anya Taylor-Joy again making it in my top 10. She has 2 movies in my top 10. She's in all the good shit. She absolutely kills it. Alexander Skarsgård absolutely kills it. The villain, one of my favorite villains this year. My favorite scene from this year might be the final battle. The music, the thing I like least about this movie is that it's not going to get any Oscar attention. It just didn't really have a campaign. It's not really what they're looking for. But man, everything about this movie just, and I remember I saw it with my friend, and then he loved it as much as I did, maybe even more. And he went to go see it immediately after. We saw it, then he went to go see it again. I had to go to work. And when he saw it, he had 2 ladies behind him go, "What the fuck was that?" after it was over. And I feel like there are some people that could be like that. There's a lot of weird shit in this movie, and that's because it's taking Norse mythology and it's assuming that it's real in this world. When characters die, they go to Valhalla, or they go to Alfheim, or they go to Helheim, depending on who they were. There's a lot of mythological beings, and Odin even makes a cameo appearance. It is very heavy in the Norse mythology. It's not just a mythology in this movie. It is real in this movie. So if you're into that, absolutely watch The Northman. It wasn't very long. It wasn't like 2.5 hours, 3 hours long, but I still would consider it like one of those classic epic movies. It felt like the Ben-Hur. It felt like the 10 Commandments. It felt like those like 1950s, like super ultra long, like 4-hour long movies that we used to see back in the 50s, but in 2022, the practical lighting. I mean, Robert Edgar's up there with the Daniels. He's one that whenever he releases a new movie, I'm going to be there day one. And I wasn't even excited to see The Northman because nobody was really talking about it. But The Northman was, of his 3 last movies, the least on my radar, but goddamn, it is probably his best movie and easily got my number 1 spot this year. So guys, this year was, reflecting on it, it's a great year for film. Not as good as like a 2019 or a 2014 or 2016, but for a year that takes place sort of in a pandemic, this is as good as I could have asked for, and I hope that next year is even better. We have a lot of good movies coming out next year, so please sound off in the comments. Let me know what some of your favorite movies were. If you didn't go to the movies that much, maybe some of the movies that were streaming, because there was a lot of those, and I really apologize that I didn't have a couple movies that you might have been looking for. I really wanted to see Aftersun. I just couldn't find a showtime anywhere, and I can rent it, but I really don't like the idea of renting a movie for $20. That's just so much. I also didn't get to see Decision to Leave, and what else? There was another one that I really wanted. Oh, Puss in Boots, the new Puss in Boots. Apparently, it's really good, so I gotta watch that. There's still a couple more that I didn't see, probably a couple horror movies, but overall, great year. Guys, let me know what your favorite movie was this year, and should I do a best anime? I might do a best anime. I'll think about it. Yeah, but I've been talking a lot, so I'm going to wrap it up here. I will see you guys in 2023, unless I upload again in 2022. I'm thinking of when this is coming out. I don't know. But thank you guys for watching, if you stuck through to the end, and yeah, see you when we react to something else.